Check.
Awesome.
Welcome back to the CONVO Couch, ladies and gentlemen. I am Pasta Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella.
And on the ones and twos, we have Johnny Tsunami. And in the guest today, I am stuttering already. In the studio, we have a great guest. We have Gabriel Ramirez. How you doing, Gabriel?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you for coming on out. Did you know he brought us pan dulce?
He what?
He brought us pan dulce.
Oh,
Right.
nice.
That is correct.
Dulce or dulce?
No,
Pan dulce.
Pan dulce.
Pan dulce.
Okay.
Well, he has pan dulce upstairs for us, and I have a little bison bolognese for you before you leave to taste my pasta. And I'm so glad that you came in here today because it's been crazy time. First of all, I want to thank all of you out there who've contributed to our Patreon lately and shown us some love, especially Mike, you, Ungi. Thank you for the great donation.
Mike. We appreciate
love you guys. Thank you, Gabriel Ramirez, too, as well. For all
Welcome.
of you who are putting the CONVO Couch in play and let us take this money and go out into the field and do some real work, we appreciate that because we love to do it. We're junkies. That's all we do is we read, look into stuff, and we have a chance to get out there and get a story. We do so. And one story I went out and got one time was when I was covering the ADEMs. And I have with us Gabriel Ramirez, who was the top ADEM getter, weren't you?
Yes, I am, and it wasn't for Craig Pasta and all the progressive activists in my district that was that went out there and also vote, and not just that, but also one thing is my constituents in my area where I live, and also the Asian community that was very rare to get them in to vote, and so I give thanks to pretty much everyone who was part of this great team in the campaign.
Can you let us know more about what district you're in, the assembly district, the congressional district,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
also just kind of like the platform you ran on?
So yes, so I was in Assembly District. I am actually in the Assembly District 49, which covers Alhambra, El Monte, Temple City, Rosemead, South, in some parts of South El Monte. And so my platform that I ran it's realistic. It was the number one, and it's always been right now that it's pretty much still strong. It's the money out of politics, campaign finance reform. So in other words, those were my top issues where I have to push it as a delegate, not just myself, but it's the whole of my colleagues that, to make it work and to actually have with having, in place of, electing, progressive leaders within the party, that will make it work. But without having it, it will make it difficult.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember when I went to his ADM elections and I saw your speech, and by far you commanded the most presence. You looked the most ready to go out and lead there, and that's what the whole presence of Gabriel Ramirez was great. But what I found interesting is when you did your speech, you went macro. You talked about money in politics.
Correct.
You only had a minute, and I thought
Right.
you were going to go micro within the community, but you kind of set this whole precedence out, and you really kind of got everybody's attention in the room. We talked about that district and the people in that district, and they were like really looking up because he's talking about a big sense of things, and you have a big overall looking mentality about you and the California Democratic Party. What's your whole macro about the California Democratic Party, especially when you're saying we need to get money out of politics? When it comes to the CDP, how does that affect everything?
How it affects it affects in everything in general. I mean, it's just not the state, but the central committee.
Yeah.
And so what it does is, again, we need that activist, someone that's going to be consistent, not just delegates, but having like that focus of like, you got to be persistence in those issues. If you're not, we're going to get this, nothing's going to get done. And that's one of my main things that I've advocated for. And just having collaborate with delegates and some leaders that if they're serious about it, why not? But unfortunately, again, it's the grassroots movements. You got to be consistently every time making sure. And if it doesn't, then make sure we vote those people out and making sure that we put somebody that will work for us, for the people.
Yeah. So in your what did you feel that Kimberly Ellis was? Did you feel that she was a better candidate than Rusty Hicks, and why did you feel that way?
No doubt, Kimberly Ellis was and is a candidate, a great candidate. Mm-hmm. The reasons I'll give you. Her platform is very strong, and those are relatable. And one of the main concerns is, again, it's money out of politics, and she will willing to work with both sides of the aisle, by means of that. And I'll make it corrections so that way there's no misunderstanding. By means of it is there's some establishment out there that you can still trying to push them into to put that money of politics, but some of them won't. Majority will say no. Yeah. And with Kimberly, yes, I know her history. She didn't vote for Bernie, and that's one thing where a lot of people question about her. But it doesn't matter if she didn't vote for Bernie or not. But what matters is what she has listened to us, and making sure that her ideals did really match a lot, and it's something that I don't look at the candidate based on popularity. I look at the candidates if there's the issues that you're gonna resemble towards my issues, I'm gonna vote for you.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna vote for someone that if I ask you some tough questions and they give me the runarounds, to me that just shows that I just don't trust you.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's the main thing, and she connects and she trusts, and that's the main issue. And restore, and her party was going to restore to make sure that our California Democratic party becomes back legit again. And right now, which isn't, and that's sad to see.
Yeah.
What about Rusty? I mean, you talked about Kimberly being great. What's the negatives about Rusty? Because in this particular election, we talk about the Bauman election where we know there was like cheating involved.
Right.
But with Rusty, even though there might have been some forms of bullying, but the whole system itself is corrupt and messed up when it comes to electing the chair. What are your thoughts about Rusty now that he's in there? What do we need to know about Rusty? Is he another Tom Perez? What's he connected to? Who is this guy?
So about Rusty, he's a labor union. So I do come from a background from union. My father was a union, Teamsters, and the thing is, a lot of the people is, just because he's a union, then I'm going to vote him in. It's like, and this is why I told the people, like, okay, yeah, I may be in the union, but if you're a union and you're not working for us and you're working for the status quo, then it doesn't matter. Don't use that label of union, because to me, it's just like, I can use, I'm a Latino and I'm going to run for the chair just because I'm Latino. It doesn't make any difference. It's just like, it's based on what your policies that you have done. And one of them, and I'll explain one of the reasons that he wasn't qualified for it. And it's sad that he is. I asked him a couple questions about what if elected, this is one of them, what would you do people that have been retaliation, within the party or in general? His ideas weren't, it was more like, well, we have to look into this. I'm like, yes, there's a lawsuit going on. How would you deal with that? Not based on your resources, but actual like solutions. And it was just a turnaround. It was just like, you know what, that right there just made me like, not wanting to vote for him.
The double talking.
Yeah, they give you the runaround.
They give you the platitude-y. Well, Gabriel, our values unite us, so whatever our values are.
Circle their answer, and they just don't really give you an answer. They beat around the bush.
Exactly. It's like, for example, let me give you an example. Let's say if I ask you, hey, do you want a burger? You're like, I do know. It's a yes or no. It's a yes or no if you want a burger.
So he's just nothing more than a career politician, is what you're
what I'm saying? It's like it's either yes or no. In general,
gives you the runaround.
Exactly.
Yeah. The career politician bullshit stuff.
Exactly.
What other things disappoint you about the current state of the CDP?
What disappoint me is that there's some that were in the committees that they call themselves progressives, and another ideas with Maria Estrada. And unfortunately, I couldn't make it to that committee because I was stuck in traffic, San Francisco traffic. It was very. I was disappointed, in how things. Where it clearly shows the evidence of what happened, and it's like, but still, some of these people that come out progressive, they're the status quo.
Yeah.
I don't care what they have done. It doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean what you have done. What matters is there if what you see on your paper that is evidence.
Yeah.
Not just based on if I have my colleague, the protocol. Like, I get it. Their protocols right now, they're still like crap.
Yeah, the protocols are made by the corrupt system, and it's giving the benefit into those people that are corrupt. Pasta interviewed my best friend Dave Atkins, and it was really funny to see them try to defend, like, oh yeah, there's corruption. Yeah. It's totally, but because she would have lost anyway, so whatever. Like this is like, let's throw it out. Yeah. And they try to like make you think that it's okay, and using very like like lofty language and giving you the same bullshit runaround. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's basically like, nope, we're just gonna ignore this corruption because the powers that be, don't want this out, so we're just gonna pretend it didn't happen, and we're gonna gaslight Maria and call her out and say she was the one that was cheating, even though she obviously wasn't.
No, and it's clear because Maria, and I know Maria, she's very vocal. We all know she's very vocal. She does not give a
Maria,
crap.
no, she's a quiet girl.
No. She, and that's
Maria
one
shot
thing. That's why one thing that we have in common about me and her is that we, not just because Latinos, but we have that outspoken. We will not tolerate any of the bullshit, and that's the main thing. And that's where certain people within our movements started to question her. I'm like, and I told some people, like, it's, come on, just because of, if you call yourself that way, then, it's just questionable about it. And
when you start going the other way, and you're supposed to be a progressive and stuff.
There's a lot of infighting. It's toxic.
Yeah. Well, what is it? My question is that, and the reason why I love you and Maria Estrada being out vocal is because at the end of the day, you understand the stakes, and you're fighting for the people who are going to suffer the most, the people within your community who are getting screwed on every single level. The way their money is being allocated to their community, it's going into contractors' pockets instead of actual work being done. Our waters are being shit on, and everybody's drinking crappy water. So at the end of the day, I know you guys are fighting for those people there. Who's pulling the buttons from up top? Who's Rusty's boss? Who's the guys? I mean, because I think nowadays we have to understand who the common enemy is at the top. Who's making the calls? Is there anybody you have knowledge of that is making these calls? I know it's not Rendon going.
Oh, no.
Somebody, Rendon has to have a boss.
Right.
Who are the people we should be looking for? Who are the bosses?
It's usually, because from my perspective, it's just part of my opinion. And usually how it works, it's someone with the lobbyist that is not a politician, but that would pretty much lure in, like, for instance, let's say I'm assembly speaker, and and I would have somebody with me like, hey, this is what I want you to vote for, but remember, what they do is they don't endorse by money. It can be different ways. It can be like, hey, let's go to, let's say, for example, a dinner or whatever it is. But it's a saying that I'm giving you as a gift, as a friend, not as a contribution. And that's where most are now going towards that way since now that the donation has been exposed.
Right.
Exactly. So it's more like
under the table money.
And that's the thing about a lot of politicians of smaller cities where I live. And that's what it's a perfect example. And that's how it starts with the Democratic Party, and then it becomes it spreads like a kind of like a cancer all over, not just one but to another. Yeah. That's from my perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. We just found out like Lara was he was getting money through the wives of his donors, which is crazy. Disgusting. It's ridiculous, but that's what they're doing. There are all these politicians around. It's a presidential race. They're saying, "Oh, we don't take corporate money," but then they're funneling their corporate money, like Elizabeth Warren did that from their Senate campaigns, and then they're like, "Well, in the primary, we might not take money, but in the general, we're just gonna use everything we can." It's like, no, sorry, that's a number one issue to me. If you take corporate money, I'm done with you because I know where your loyalties lie. Then, right? Like everything stems from there. Your loyalties are coming from the people with the money, and obviously that's not us. So, and
it's so connected up to the top. That's why, the Epstein case has so much to do with it, because they're going to start looking into everybody funds, and eventually they'll get to Nancy Pelosi. She's in the state of California. Who'd she give money to? Where's all this money getting funneled down from? Because it seems like somebody up top. We have the most powerful Democratic Party in the country is in California. All right. Somebody's got to be pulling the strings. And every single time we look, it's like, oh, it's the system we're beating down. And I'm not talking about, I don't think the guys like your friend David Atkins or the WAGs. Right. I don't think these people like Ryan Skolnick are getting paid. I think they just want to be part of the group, and they're actually tricked into being Democratic loyals. But there are people up above in this fucking party, in this state. They got deep pockets. Oh, yeah. And they're funneling shit for their own fucking money while the rest of us in these communities are suffering.
Exactly. And it's something that I'll chime into a little bit. For those who don't know, before the whole delegate, I still am a community activist in my city. Mm-hmm. So I tend to city council meetings, and it's the same thing. And it's similar to the Democratic Party, but we're talking now it's taxpayers' dollars. And that's something that it's where a lot of people, it's a lot of voters, they get, how can I say it? And I'll explain, they get sucker, and it's like they get brainwashed. They get, it's like if you tell, a little kid, hey, I'm going to give you ice cream, but remember, vote for me and vote for this. And it's like, oh yeah. And they'll just fall for it and put in things that are not true. And it's still happening, not just in my community, but in every community. And I'm sure in your community, the same thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, they especially even for the ADEM elections, they were giving like donuts and the establishment slates were having like all these little things like, hey, here's a cookie, here's this, vote for me. And so basically just as to leading on to the next subject, what do you think we can do as progressives to change the structure of this kind of to start favoring us more? Because right now, obviously, there's more of us in there, but it's not enough to overpower.
Right. And this is the thing, though, and this is where I've talked to several people. I mean, I want to keep their names protected. And it's a lot of the infighting. It needs to stop. I mean, there's a lot of groups, there's cliques, and that's where I don't like that. I don't like labeling. There's certain cliques about, we're progressive, we're Bernie. And then there's someone who say, we're progressive, but we like Bernie, but, but I do like Bernie, but I don't trust them. And that's toxic. And there's a lot of infighting with it. That's the main thing. It's like, because I'll be honest, right now, we're losing. And that's where someone needs to be up and not having for their political gain or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's their motto, and I've seen a lot of those, and it's like if we're gonna be like that, nothing's gonna get done. Yeah. Again, just like Maria Estrada a couple of shows ago, she said the same thing, and she hit right to the spot. And not just that, but other people are saying the same things, and it's like there's a lot of infighting. And going back to it, is number one is no matter what, stop the whole labeling about the cliques and groups. If that's the case, then this is not the right place for you. Go work somewhere else, a nonprofit where it's going to be that, because here it's just one. Yeah. Either you're with us or you're not. Yeah. It's like you're in the same team or not.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, things are so tribal too, and it seems like these leaders are kind of like coercing these people. Like, hey, you want to sit at the cool person's table?
Exactly.
You vote for this person, and you could come hang out with
Exactly.
us.
It's a lot of psychological, like high school, like behavior. Where
and I've
like,
seen that, and that's why I told some people I don't belong to certain cliques and groups. I am who I am. If you're doing for the right causes, I'm gonna go for it. But if you're gonna be doing those type of stuff like, oh, I'm gonna promote this so I can get a job there,
benefit myself,
then you know what? Then this is not the right place for you.
Gotcha.
Go look somewhere else.
There has to be integrity, is what you're saying. Like go with your convictions rather than how you can elevate yourself.
Exactly. And after this, I'll like I said, I'll get some heat. But like I said, it's not about getting the heat. It's just being realistic and say, look at the picture. If we want this movement to grow, look at other states like New York, Ocasio-Cortez.
Yeah. And it's funny, when we organized the event for her, she came here and was like, oh, you guys seem like you get along. You guys are
like, this is better than New York.
This is better than New York. And we're all like,
if you see that.
Process, we were all
like looking at each other.
We're like,
right.
Yeah, okay.
We can't decide what we want to get for lunch. So institutionally, before we get off this topic, because there's something I really want to talk about, because for me, my personal opinion is I don't know if we can make ends in this party, and I'm still saying, in California, why don't we just start our own third fucking party? If it's local politics, we should just start our own labor party of sorts, I think. But that's beside the point. I mean, real labor, like outside the union fucking jerk-offs. But this system has... and we witnessed this in Orange County, it allows elected officials to get involved as delegates and pull their weight around. What the hell is going on in El Monte with the mayor? I saw a post of yours.
Right. And
let's get you some more heat, because I don't think you got
oh, trust me.
Let's make it humid. Tell us about the mayor in El Monte and what's going on.
So we have a history, me and him have a long history. Back in 2011, that's where I started to do my activism in the city council, going to city council meetings. In that time I was more into my background. I was going to the police academy until I had an injury where I felt like this is for me. It's like, there's no way I can ever become. Yes, I get it.
Yeah.
But I decided to pursue another career where a professor told me, hey, I took a political science class, and I knew before politics, but I didn't want to be involved because I have a background of a family one, but not here in Mexico where. Mm-hmm. They were like, I don't want to be that. I just want to be myself. I don't want to just use my name because of that leverage, because of that. I don't want to be that. Mm-hmm. So I said, why not? So I went to the city council meeting. So the mayor of Almani, his name is Andre Quintero. He works for the city of Los Angeles, the city attorney's office, and he is a prosecutor. Mm. And so one of the things that he's very, he's a very narcissist and a very narcissist type of person. He's very vindictive.
Yeah.
Vindictive as in people like myself who speaks every city council meetings, speaking the truth with facts, not just saying F you or then that's forget it. Like, don't even bother going there. Yeah. So I expose the facts, not just myself, but other people that were there. And so what he does, he plays the part of like, I had nothing to do with this. So he'll send like court enforcement. He'll send anything just to make sure, just to shut up.
Yeah.
And so I guess I had enough with it, and I expose it now more on social media. And most people, they're afraid of him because since he controls the city now, school boards and he has higher ups with the city of Los Angeles, and he has friends in the San Gabriel Valley. So politicians that can help him, making sure that, hey, that way to not just protect them, just to make sure like, hey, there's people, activists coming in. Let's counter to make sure. So back to this, where my city in El Monte is a small town. We're actually now this Tuesday there's going to be a budget which means we're going to be in a $9 million deficit. So which means it can possibly go into bankruptcy. And so we passed a measure for tax it's a half-cent sales tax twice, and I've been vocal against it because it's a half-cent sales tax that hasn't benefited much. We haven't gotten revenue back, and we're losing even more. Mm-hmm. And that's where I was trying to tell the voters that if you keep on voting the same people in the third time, this is if you keep on voting him this again, and we have no options but to file bankruptcy. And that's where a lot of people, they say yes, I'll go, but at the same time he has that scare tactic, intimidation. A lot of people decides to like say, I can't make it because for reasons, because some works for the city, some work for whatever it is, and he has that. That's the type of politicians that they have that leverage, like Rendon. It's similar to that, and that's connect ties with them. That's where it's something like it's very toxic, and I'm like the only one. That's.
Is there a confusion about where the money's going in El Monte? Is that what's going on, and nobody wants to call him on it, or
no?
Is it with the tax? Is he wasting it? Is he not appropriating it? Or?
There's funds that when we passed that sales tax, it was gonna fund by public safety and putting green space parks. Okay, that was his propaganda. In reality, I haven't seen anything on that is going towards, and it's actually, and that's where I asked for public records requests. But now with the new staff, they do the little runarounds. And it makes me question, but if we're $9 million deficit, where's that money is being going towards?
Exactly.
And we're building a lot of affordable housing that is not that is pretty much not affordable. And I've called the cheapest one is about, I want to say $1,500 a month.
That's ridiculous. In El Monte?
Yeah, it's right next to the bus station.
That's ridiculous.
I mean,
And I remember we're like, and when I spoke about that prior construction that housing, and I said it before, these are not affordable housing. These are big developers. They come into the cities and they picture it nice, just like if you're in a relationship, you tell your spouse, hey, I'm gonna take you on a nice date, and everything's gonna picture nice, but once it comes to the real life, it's like, hey, wait a minute, it's not the person that you are. If that makes sense.
We're really eating at McDonald's over here, so
you know what I'm saying?
Misappropriated funds, wasting of money.
Typical Democratic Party.
Exactly.
I think that the solution is basically more of us to get involved in the political process. I mean, Bernie Sanders talks about it all the time, Yeah, like just on
city councils.
Some people would be great at city council, especially if you're an activist in the community. I would say run for city council because you already know how the community is and what the needs are. That's why I support politicians, or not politicians, but activists that run for office, that are involved with their community, because they have a tie to their community that is a lot harder for them to lose once they get in office versus someone that's never even stepped foot
exactly
inside. So,
and one thing I wanted to add to that as well is that a lot of people they only look into the big picture, like the party, and then looking at the big races, like, and this is why I tell the people, like, for me, my focus is only on the local level. Yes, that's why you don't see me much more on the national, because I'm trying to focus on the local level. That's where local level is the playing field. That's where, once you elect people that are grassroots, that are actually working for the people, then that's where it starts to change little by little. Yeah. And then it's gonna go up to it's like a mountain going from the bottom.
It's bottom up.
And that's the most important. And a lot of people, and I'm talking about issues that is really it's what I recommend to the people. Attend city council. I mean, there is no stupid questions. Observe, get the records request. Public records request. See the budget. Okay, what areas are we missing, and why is that?
Yeah.
It's just
why are they spending so much money on something.
And that's one thing that I wanted to say.
I think that's to end up on a good note with that. I know you want to say something to your family.
Yes.
So you can look into that camera over there. John, you got him on a big screen shot.
Alrighty.
So you say to your family before we get on to some good Epstein stuff.
So I'm going to say in Spanish, and I'll say it, and then I'll explain it in English. So quiero saludar mucho a mi familia en la Ciudad de México y en Tijuana, especialmente a mi nueva sobrina que nació, Jimena. Si estás viendo este video, ya sé que lo estás mirando con mi prima, pero quiero darles un abrazo, un saludo, y que ojalá que cuando ya crezcas, ojalá que este video se va a su mensaje y a mis amigos y a familias que viven en la Ciudad de México. Muchísimas gracias. So in other words, I want to say first is a huge shout out to my family and friends that are living in Mexico, in Tijuana, in Mexico City. And friends as well, and especially to my newborn niece who was born Friday, Jimena Landeros. If you're watching this video, once you start growing up, and hopefully this video is available to look, I want you to know how much I care and I love you, and I'll make sure that I'll be advocating whatever issues that you have, so that way when you come over here, you have a better future for yourself.
It's awesome.
Perfect.
It's all about the children, fam.
Yeah,
it's all about the children.
It is, and we're going to talk a little bit about that.
We're going to get back into that because, and I just like to say, I know we kind of go across the board in a lot of stuff. Thank you, Gabriel, so much. That was awesome.
Yeah.
And we're going to dive into this Epstein stuff again. This is something that I'm taking really personal. This case, I'm from that area in South Florida. I know some people involved, not on a deep level. I'm going to do some digging. I probably served Epstein before in Boca Raton as a waiter. I was a career waiter bartender out there. And but this is something serious because it is about the children. And when they cross the shit line of using 13, 14, 15-year-old girls in sex trafficking, and we're talking thousands of girls, ladies and gentlemen, we have to point it out. And it really is about the bigger picture when it comes to Epstein. Because if we don't understand that Epstein is intelligence, that he wasn't protected, and every day I'm going to do a little something and connect the dots for you. And we talk about it. The whole set's rich. These are all the people making the decisions up high. Yeah. These are all the people who are deciding where to wage war. Mm-hmm. These are all the people who are controlling the monetary system, which makes you slaves to whether debt, which is the new shackles. These are all the people who are making the decisions at the border and regime change. Mm-hmm. Yeah. These are all the people who are controlling our lives. And now it appears that they're getting really sick and getting away with it. And this is not about partisan politics. This is not about making tribal calls. This is about really to what's going on and freeing us from the shackles. Because if we don't acknowledge it, fam, we'll never be free.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's just talk about a few things about Epstein. We pointed out on this show that Epstein was possibly intelligence. We looked into Liberty Blitzkrieg that when Acosta, who was the attorney general, who supposedly gave this beautiful deal, which people are thinking that, why did he give this deal? Was he incompetent? Was he paid off? No. Mm-hmm. He was told in a meeting with FBI agents and the lawyers that Epstein was intelligence, to leave it alone, that it was above your pay grade. Mm-hmm. And I want to reiterate, because that's not like, hey, man, he's intelligence. Maybe you should give him a little bit of deal. That's no, he's intelligence. Leave him alone or your house will blow up at 5 p.m. Right. Mm-hmm. Like, this is the sick thing over here. You know, we talk about this. We talked about the Daily Beast when it was reported. However, I wanted to talk about a few things because we really have to acknowledge what's going on. On the Acosta Thursday press conference, when he had to come out and address some stuff, he was asked, were you told that Epstein was intelligence? He danced around the question, but I also want to look over here because this is something I'm telling you. All these same people who are involved, fam. Guess who was the FBI agent in 2008?
Acosta?
No. The FBI agent was Robert Mueller. He was the head of the FBI. And this shit went all the way to the top. He talked about Maine Justice Acosta, Maine Justice, the DOJ. Look at what happened, the way he reacts when he's asked if he talked to Robert Mueller.
Sir. In Florida. I'm talking about in Florida. Did you instruct justice? Sir, there is a pending New York case in New York. I can't comment. Sir.
I'm curious, who at Maine Justice, Neil McCabe, One American News, who at Maine Justice reviewed this case or your decision, and did you have any interaction with Robert Mueller at the time?
So I shared a letter that I wrote to one of Epstein's defense attorneys, and I shared that letter in part because it shows much of the timeline. It shows how initially the meetings that took place were between in July, between the first assistant, the criminal chief, the Palm Beach office chief, and the line attorney and 2 FBI agents with Epstein's attorneys. You'll notice at the initial meeting, as outlined in this letter, who are all career attorneys, how they presented the terms, how Epstein's attorneys were dissatisfied and asked for a meeting with me, how I subsequently went with their attorneys, along with all the career officials, how at that meeting we then invited the chief of the Child Exploitation and Obscenity section from the Department of Justice to travel down, because one of the things we wanted to make sure of was that we had, going back to the earlier question about the ABA rule, that we had sufficient evidence to proceed ethically. And then it details a little bit on how Epstein's counsel appealed the decisions to Washington. I'd refer you to the record. You know, one of the really disturbing things about this case is there's a record here. The documents that I shared today, we've shared previously with media, yet I've seen no reference to any of these documents in the perspective of some of these prosecutors. There's a record. All these documents are publicly available and could have been pulled up by anyone in this room. And so, you know, there is a record that will, you know, I wasn't at Maine Justice. I do not have a full list of the individuals that reviewed this matter at Maine Justice. I can tell you the individuals referenced in this letter. And I would refer you to the record, 'cause this was 12 years ago. I do not have a full list of the individuals that reviewed this at Maine Justice. As the record makes clear, individuals from Maine Justice were involved fairly early on and were certainly aware of it. And I think if you look at the record, it will become clear that our decisions were appealed again and again to Maine Justice. Sir.
See what I'm saying? He doesn't even answer the question. Yeah. It's like a California Democratic, well, our values unite us, and I think that, if you look at this here, just answer the question. Did fucking Mueller know or not?
It's a yes or no
They're
question.
Like a Beto.
Okay, and this was in 2000. You notice that they try to make this case go away. This case has been going on for a long fucking time. And in 2008 to 2016, Obama was the president, and one of his number one chief financial advisors was Larry Summers, and he was on that plane a lot. They wanted this fucking case to go away, and thank God it came back. So there's another point. You know that now you know the same jerk off, Robert Mueller. He had to fucking know. He's head of the FBI. Yeah. It went to Maine Justice. It went to all the way to the White House, probably. Literally, that's what this case went, because they had sex trafficking. And they gave him a sentence for jaywalking, fam. They gave him a sentence for jaywalking, for using 14, 15-year-old fucking girls, taking advantage of them in West Palm Beach, set up a whole Ponzi scam, a whole pyramid scam, right, Johnny? We talked about it. We watched this. He would use his girls to say, go out and bring me more girls, and I'll give you $300. And these 14, 15-year-old girls would go out. A lot of these homeless girls, broken girls off the street. Let me tell you something. If you want to cry, you watch some of these victims' talks. You watch their mothers, what they say. Yeah. This is where the shit hit the fucking fan. This is not a distraction. This is real shit. And Epstein was protected, because let me show you another thing real quick. The Broward County Sheriff, Jim Cheesesteak DeFeeti, we call him. This guy who moderated the Debbie Wasserman Schultz debate between her and Tim Canova, who was a local reporter, also broke news that the sheriff, Rick Bradshaw, let Epstein have work release in South Florida as a sex offender. Guess what? You're not allowed to have work release as a sex offender in South Florida. But somebody was pulling the strings from up top. You guys have anything to add to that real quick? What do you think about that? Do you think that somebody who had that is getting some special attention from up top?
Well, yeah. Obviously, it just shows how much money you have. I think a woman was recently convicted for engaging in sexual acts with a 13-year-old, and she got like 20 years and 3 lifetime probation sentences. That shows you the disparity between a regular person and someone like Epstein, who, if he were given a fair sentence, he would be in jail for the rest of his life and completely have all of his money stripped. That would be a punishment fitting the crime, but the punishment doesn't fit the crime for poor people, and it's just very, very light, like a slap on the wrist for the elites. So.
And I'm going to add to that too, because of it's a difference between the people with money, if they which they are going to be convicted. The only part that is really disgusting is that they get their special treatment inside. It's like they'll be going on a cell where it's going to be only for them. Yeah. Rather, if it's a person that is a regular that does that person is going to end up with the general, with the inmates, and that's where it's still going on to this day. Yeah, and and this has to change a lot. Yeah. Just because if you got billions of dollars, it doesn't mean squad crap. Yeah, you go exactly the way it is. Yeah, not based because for whatever you pretty much I could be assumption, but it's just biting off the judges or whatever it is, and that's the problem.
And people have to understand that he didn't just make millions. It just showed up in his account. Exactly. Really, to tell you the truth, this guy's you can't even... there's something to say about if you have money, you can buy freedom and you can buy lawyers and stuff like that. But this is even going beyond that. Because the people who are in charge, they have to do these things. They know they're going to be looked upon. But if they're told just do this shit and shut the fuck up, they do this shit and shut the fuck up because they know this guy's intelligence. Let me give you another example, too, and we're going to wrap this up because we have a lot of stuff, because we're going to talk about this stuff every day. I'm going to connect the dots on Epstein, his madam's father, how this stuff goes so deep down the fucking rabbit hole. And like I said, it's not even conspiracy theory shit anymore. It's out in the fucking open. Exactly. That's how lazy the elites have become, that they don't even cover their fucking tracks. And here's another thing. After he finishes his sentence 5 months earlier, nonetheless, fam, he's also got a house in New York, and he was told, as a convicted sex offender, you have to report to a substation in Manhattan, a police department, whatnot. Okay? And it says right here, the New York Police Department let convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein skip mandatory in-person check-ins, even though he's registered as the most severe kind of sex offender, according to the sources in the New York Post. They allegedly did this despite the judge's 2011 order that the defendant adhere to the state law. So Epstein was supposed to do it 34 times at a monitoring unit station in Manhattan Criminal Courthouse, but allegedly never did. He skipped 34 of them, even though the violation of the statute would leave him open to at 4 years of prison for just one offense. Another once you miss it once, you're going away for 4 years. This guy missed it 34 fucking times. He is deep state fucking intelligence to the highest level.
Yep.
Gonna close on up because I know there's not much to say on that, but I mean, I wonder if what you guys are thinking, because this to me just blows my mind. And here's the last piece of evidence before we get on to the next subject, because I don't want to stay on this all day, because we're going to be talking about this all the time. And there's some great people who've left some great comments and great links on our YouTube. There's one person in particular on Monday tomorrow. I would like to recognize him, and I'll talk to you about it. But it goes way deep down the rabbit hole. But here's the kicker. On Friday, Epstein's lawyers went in to request bail, to request bond. $77 million bond. They said they would give up his Manhattan, the title on it, whatnot. They would hold that against him. And his new jet, because the Lolita's been sold. People don't even know that. The Lolita's been sold, and they can't even look into it for evidence. But he put that stuff up for collateral, which means nothing when you're, a deep state guy and somebody can press a button, put billions in your account. But he even said this, and we have the paperwork. I'm going to read this. In sum, Mr. Epstein has substantial grounds to challenge the allegations charged by the government in this indictment, and has every intention of doing so in a lawful, professional, and principled manner. He intends to fight the current charges on their merits and more to contest their legality, given the what's that word? Inextricable interviewing of the current investigation and his NPA, which is his non-something agreement?
Non-binding?
Not NPA. But here's where it gets crazy, which promised him immunity in a global settlement for offenses, including those brought under this code right now. So in other words, when they struck the plea deal the first time, they're insinuating that it was a global agreement. Now, I've never heard of that in my friggin' life, and I call it a global agreement. That is some high level. I don't even know what to say about it. He's trying to say that you made an agreement and nobody can touch me. I'm untouchable worldwide.
Because they did. That's the thing. Like, I mean, if you're, he has so much power, but at the same time, he's also their fall guy, right? If they're gonna bring someone down, eventually, once they can, they're gonna bring him down, because it's already all out in the open.
Yeah.
So I think what we're gonna see is, eventually everything's gonna fall on him, so the people who are actually pulling the strings can protect themselves.
Right, and one thing I want to add to that too, because it's funny that you say that, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to fall into it. It's like, hey, it's like saying, I brought you in, now you turn me in, now you're going to be the one. And there's going to be a lot of those. There are going to be some surprises too, that there are going to be some names that are going to be like unexpected, like that we don't know that they were part of it. And it's going to be some shocking. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, well, I think he's going to end up dead, or a fake death, kind of like his madam's father, which I don't want to ruin the special, because it talks about, what's the madam's father's name? Robert Maxwell. And thank you for leaving the information about Robert Maxwell. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but if I tell you who Robert Maxwell is, who his daughter was his main madam, she was the main one doing, and they have the picture, you brought it up, fam, the picture of her at Chelsea Clinton's wedding. This is going to be some deep shit, and it's going to really unmask. But I'm thinking, my bet is that Epstein turns up dead, or they fake his death, and they try to make this all go away. But, I'm glad this case came to fruition, and we're going back on it. And Monday, tomorrow, we're going to see if his request for bail is either accepted or denied. So we'll see.
It's a wait and see game.
It's a waiting game. But listen, people, wake up and understand this. This is really important. This is really important, because it explains we have a government within a government. If we don't acknowledge that, and if we don't call these suckers out one by one, the cookie will not crumble, and will always be
not that
changed.
we have a government within a government, but that we have people who are running the government are nefarious, that have it's run by elites, it's run by psychopaths, and that's why you see all of the issues that are coming in our domestic, in our infrastructure, economic crisis, our dealings with foreign policy. It's all connected, and I think that's what people don't get. Like, that's the importance of this, is like, these people lie and manipulate information. They lie to the American people, and they let rich people off with a slap on the wrist. It happened in Wall Street. It's happening right now. It always is going to happen until people stand up. And that's why it's so important. I'm going to transition. That's why it's so important that we have progressives, not only from the bottom up, but also that we have a chance right now to elect someone for president that can also go after these people, that's willing to take on these people, because it is a risk for them to take on these people, as you have seen. And
you have to get back to them.
Yeah. And so Mike Gravel has made the debates, and it's a great thing to have him there because he's extremely anti-war. He has no problem speaking out against the corruption of the Democratic Party. He reached 65,000 donors to make the July debates. Johnny, you have the tweet right here.
So he's going to make the second debate.
Yes. Well, second. People were confused because some referred to the first and second debates as the first and second nights. So people were saying all this kind of like information, but
he's going to make this debate in a couple weeks.
Yes, that's what he's
fucking awesome. What's that? What's going on?
You switched the word fam for the other F word.
Oh, sorry. Fam.
You constantly. But it's okay. So there's a tweet here where he says, it really is incredible to think of what the movement behind Senator Gravel accomplished. A campaign managed by teenagers, who are amazing, by the way, for an 89-year-old backed by no money, no political machine, with little media attention, got 65,000 donors before senators, representatives, and governors, which is true. He's already qualified donor base more than some of the people that have qualified by the polls. And that's what's really irritating, because I haven't been polled at all, ever. And the only polls that I go to are online polls, right? But the Democratic Party doesn't count those. They only count the polls with landlines. Of course, you're not going to get people who like Bernie Sanders, Mike Gravel, or even a Tulsi Gabbard on the landline. You're going to get those people online. Yeah. And so it's a way to stop him from even getting there. Not him, but progressives in general. Yeah. Like, I haven't used a landline in years, and he talks about it here.
I just want to ask a question before we get to this. You're talking about the polls, and really, to tell you the truth, fam, I hate when you put this stuff in the folder sometime, because you make my mind go wild, because I'm looking at all these people too and stuff like that. Why should the polls mean so much? Who's doing these fucking polls? She just said you never received the polls. Shouldn't it just be the donations only? I mean,
yeah. I mean, I think the donations should be better. What do you think?
I agree, because a lot of people that don't donate, and they and I seen a lot of people, because again, where I used to do my former job, we used to send out the polls, and it was to the people where they didn't donate, and it's unfair for us who donate. We're like, hey, what about our opinion? Like, what about what we wanted to say about the polls? And that's very disturbing. There's something needs to be done about that.
Yeah, because you're looking at these polls that are skewed. They're only they're not even polling people 18 to 35. They're only polling a certain age group and landlines. Exactly. and just, it's ridiculous. So why are they going for that for qualifications? So even though he made the 65,000 donors, there is an issue. So he talks about this. For example, the New York Times doesn't even even list Mike as a candidate, even though it lists several: Sestak, Moulton, Messam. Who the hell? Moulton. Moulton is the only one I know who never qualified for the debates. They never qualified for the debates, but they list them. The New York Times lists them. And CNN never listed us or polled us. We asked for a town hall from CNN and got nothing. Moulton got one, though. And then he says, the next period of this campaign will be, if anything, even harder. We'll have to fight the DNC tooth and nail and do whatever it takes to get Mike on the stage. But as Mike said, whatever happens, we've already won. We've done something huge, and it's thanks to you. Thank you.
We have done something huge. We've gotten this guy's voice elevated and stuff, because he slipped on those last debates, fam, and he was amazing. We went back and watched this stuff. And one of the best things he ever said, too, was like, it's like when I first got to the Senate, the first 6 months, I was like, how the hell did I get here? After the next 6 months, I was like, how the hell did the rest of them get here? He just got in there as a progressive and saw the warmongering and everything going on, and he made his voice present back then. So I'm excited to get him back on the stage.
And so here's the issue is that he is qualified for the debates, but with the raft of idiot centrists pulling at 1%, and with the DNC that would love to keep him out of the public eye, they are actively trying to screw us, but we'll fight back and make Mike's voice heard. So he has gotten attorneys getting ready to like fight the DNC, because what happens is if there are more than 20 candidates, they have to go by the polling thing. And weirdly enough, people like Bullock, who just entered the race, of all of a sudden are 5% in the polls, or no, they're like 1 or 2% in the polls, but they qualified in 5 polls out of nowhere. Bullock, I mean, he hasn't even been present. Bennett, de Blasio, Delaney, Hickenlooper, really? I mean, it's just ridiculous. And so now this is, in order for Gravel to snack Bullock's spot on the stage, he'll need 2 polls at 1% by Tuesday's deadline.
They're going to screw him.
That is their mechanism.
They're going to screw him.
That is their mechanism.
They're going to fuck him.
And we have the other picture, John.
Oh my God, they're gonna screw him so bad. Oh my Lord.
And even Bernie Sanders congratulated Mike Gravel, Johnny. We have the YouTube video, 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 25 seconds.
Maybe. Well, one more thing. Everybody in the chat seems extremely curious about what the Bernie DM was. Dave,
I shouldn't spoil that. I shouldn't say.
How about we'll have to leave them on a cliffhanger, so they have to.
But I say the first word.
Okay.
The first word that the official Senator Sanders account sent to me was David. I hope that's helpful.
I think people are gonna riot if we don't say it. They said congratulations. They say that they want to work with us in the future. That they're hoping for opportunities to collaborate. That's what they actually said.
People talk about.
Awesome. So that's really big, actually, because it's amazing that we're gonna have Bernie, we're gonna have Tulsi, we're gonna have Gravel, and even someone like Marianne Williamson, who has a pretty progressive platform. And wouldn't it be great if we could form a progressive alliance? So here's my thinking. My thinking is it would be great if they secretly wouldn't attack each other, if they secretly would just go on and push their platforms, which are all very similar, and they would focus on the common enemy, which is the establishment candidates that are getting corporate money, that are just telling people what they want to hear right now. And Bernie being the most popular of the 3, and then Tulsi's next as far as polls. Wouldn't it be great if we could just support these candidates, even if you're a Bernie supporter, even if you're you want him to win because he is the one that I think has the highest chance. If you don't support these other candidates, like I know a lot of Berners who donated to Gravel $1, Tulsi Gabbard, they've been donating to her too. You're going to see that it's going to be so much harder for someone like Bernie to even stand there with all the establishment against him. And that's what people don't get. I've been seeing all these, whether they're Bernie supporters or supporting anybody else, they're like, no, but you know, why are you giving money to someone else that's not Bernie? That's going to hurt him. It's going to hurt his chances. These people aren't Bernie's enemy. It's the establishment that is his enemy. So my entire theory is that I think we need an alliance because the Democrats will cheat again. We've seen what's happening in Queens with Tiffany Caban's race. And we need to look at what's happening in Iowa with the virtual caucuses, in Nevada. And here in California, we have an entire new system that we're going to be using.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a problem. And if you don't see that this is politics, that we need to build an alliance, that progressives from the ground up have been needing to do this. Gail McLaughlin tried to do it. Yeah. And you know, I think we need to do it for the presidential race. And instead of fighting amongst each other, we need to work together. It's like an army. We need our generals, our leaders there, and we need to support them, because once Bernie gets in there, if he gets in there, they're going to do the second round of super delegates, because there's so many candidates that not one candidate is going to get enough. Yeah. And so if Bernie's there by himself, the establishment is going to turn around and give all their delegates to their selected leader, and Bernie's not going to be able to make it. So if you like Bernie, if you want him to win, you need to support other people too.
Well, what about the argument, and I'm going to say this, and we'll give some shout outs to some people. I know everybody's hitting up the thing, but what do you say to the people, and we witnessed this, because we see a lot of Tulsi people who are kind of like upset with Bernie, but they don't really go out and trash him. They want some answers on a few things, they want to trash him. But then we see these Bernie people who are just actually disgusting and awful towards Tulsi Gabbard, comparing her to Hillary Clinton and stuff, and we've seen the bullshit online and everything. I mean, what do you say to the argument that people say, but wait, Tulsi's in there and she's going to siphon votes away from Bernie, and she needs to just get out of the way right now?
I think it's too early. I think it's too early, and it's not fair to say that. What do you think?
It's too early, and it's the same people that they say that it's either one, we don't know their motives, but it's again back in 2016. How they're attacking about Bernie, they're talking about attacking other candidates. So it's like, we don't learn. We need to stop focusing on the 2016. Let's focus on supporting on the candidates like Bernie Sanders and again Tulsi Gabbard and Mike Avell.
Yeah.
If they're gonna be the whole clicks about about 1 and 1, then you're gonna get the same results from 2016. So
Exactly.
let's not repeat that.
I think a lot of people talk about, like, if they hand these over to these delegates, these presidential candidates can give their delegates over when they drop out. We know for a fact that if Tulsi does drop out, who is she going to give her delegates to? They're going to Bernie Sanders. If Elizabeth Warren drops out, are her delegates going to Bernie Sanders? I highly doubt it, because this woman's being willing to play ball.
Yeah,
Damn, I'm
exactly.
sorry.
And so just to kind of summarize, right? People say, but superdelegates don't get a first round vote. Sure. But there are so many candidates that's likely going to happen. And they also say, but what's the point of supporting other candidates who aren't going to win? And so here's why you need to keep supporting these progressive candidates as long as possible. A candidate can endorse another and tell their delegates to vote for them as well. Yep. The stronger the candidate, the more delegates they have. So we don't want these progressive candidates to not rise. We want them to rise so they have more delegates behind them. And what's to ensure said delegates go to Bernie? So if we have an alliance beforehand, this alliance is going to ensure that. Usually the delegates listen to their previous, the person that they endorse as choice. And this would be something that the people can push and inform the respective campaigns behind the scenes prior, so there's no surprises like, oh, I am going to do this. The Tulsi campaign does it, the Marianne Williamson, Gravel, whoever is strongest. And that's why I think this is a way of combating the establishment manipulations, because we know that they're going to do this. And I've just been arguing with people who are like, no, Bernie only. It's like, yes, I support him 100%, but he can't do this alone, you guys. He cannot.
Why
and it happened in 2016. It's going to happen again.
Yeah. Why don't they understand, though, fam, that the people that Tulsi Gabbard's going to get people to come out and vote for her
that Bernie
wouldn't get out there. It just, I understand Bernie does have appeal to independents and he can reach across the aisle, but not like Tulsi can. Tulsi gets disgruntled Trump libertarians and people that are just, that were some Republicans, independents that he'll never get. So if she gets them to come over and vote for her, she can then eventually hand them off to Bernie. And I don't want to understand why people can't grasp that concept. And why don't people ever, why don't they give Tulsi Gabbard for standing up and walking away? We talked about the integrity of the people in this party. How when, as soon as people aren't looking, they're going to go vote for Rusty Hicks. They're going to go stab you in the back. But this is a woman who gave up her power and said, screw what's going on in 2016. And while Elizabeth Warren was hiding in the shadows, she got up and walked away publicly.
She was going to be chair. I mean, they were propping her up to be the next big political thing. And once she did that, you've noticed they've just been article after article smearing her constantly. That is what happens when you don't do what they say. Exactly. And she was willing to do that. And I will put my bet on someone like that over someone like Warren, who seems to be doing this for political opportunity now.
Correct.
And I think that's just it's just a problem.
Yeah, it is, and it's the same thing, because I noticed something different lately about Elizabeth Warren, and that's something where I was like, I didn't trust her. Even 2016, I had that little gut feeling. I talked to other people like, you know what? I have a feeling that she's like an opportunist. Well, she will use it, but then when 16 they shut her up. Now she's like, oh, I have to play the little nice. Yeah. I can't go too radical. I can't do this, because if I do, then it's all about, I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid what ifs, and so that's
exactly.
Did you have something to play here? Or
I
just
just
shout outs?
You want to do the shout outs?
Let me do some shout outs real quick. So we do have a super chat. Darren Alevi said before, Prince Andrew of the UK should be arrested as well. He's a very close friend of Epstein. We know he was on that plane, ladies and gentlemen, and toured President Trump around the UK. All old friends of Epstein. That is right, Darren Alevi. Thank you for the super chat contribution. And thank you to everybody on the MCSC network who's watching. Mike Fagan, Romeo, Brent Showers, the Road Cow still in the house. We love you, Road Cow. Keel Jones or Kyle Jones and Snork Y2K, an old guy from Get Your News On with Ron, coming on over and showing love. And to the 70 people that are watching the Convo Couch, we love you as well. Freedom Tribe says precisely pasta. That's my dog. That's my man. Amers, Jagos, Kung Fu Platypus. I love that friggin' name. Gamer for Life. Dizzy Daniels. Freedom Tribe of Patreon. We love you. We're going to have my new pasta recipe up there. I made some bolognese. I'm going to hit Gabriel Ramirez at the end. And on the Convo Couch YouTube, Facebook, Steve Wolbrandt, we have a shirt for him.
Oh, yes.
If we don't see you, get us your address. We'll mail it to you. Rocky Bellinger, he got his shirt. We need a picture of it on. Gilbert Flores, always watching. Valerie Flanagan was around. Danny Garcia joined. Danny, come on over. Hang with me and Johnny when he gets back from New York. Nice. And Aracelia Cruz is in the house as well. Fam, do you got anything else to get to?
I just want to go out with this video of the concentration camps or encampments where Pence visited, and I want people to see what it actually looks like, because I have a really, really big point to make tying everything together.
Put the watchtowers up here. The watchtowers help us pick out anyone that gets rowdy so we can pull them out quickly.
Okay, so I just wanted to show that because these are the conditions that we are giving to people who are trying to come here to run away from a destabilized nation. Nations that we destabilize ourselves. And do you see the blankets? I mean, they're not even blankets. They're, the foil kind of blankets. And to me, it goes further than the Trump administration. Obama and Clinton set the precedent for Donald Trump to come in and do this. Now, Donald Trump has gone further. The administration has gone further by separating families, by making this their prime focus. That cannot be denied. However, this all started. A lot of these people are coming from countries that we destabilized 10 years ago, Honduras being the primary country that we destabilized. And it's disgusting to me how we don't talk about that. It's not just the fact that these people are living in these conditions like animals caged in. It's the fact that people like Nancy Pelosi go and talk about the children, and then turn around and support the Senate McConnell bill that keeps them in there and lets Trump do whatever he wants. They don't stand up to the Republican Party. They aren't really there for immigrants, yet they tokenize the Latino vote. And that pisses me off because you know what? I want someone to go in there and say, look, we gotta prosecute ICE. They have been disgusting. They're profiting off of this. I mean, you have to look at Blackstone and all of these, the GEO group that are making profit off of encaging people that are getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars and are making millions in profit out of all of this misery. And then you have to look at who benefits from this. The establishment benefits from this, whether they're Republican or Democrat, and who suffers? The people that are coming here. You want people to stop coming here? You have to stop getting involved in destabilizing their nations. And that's something that nobody ever talks about.
Yeah, and Pelosi supports regime change
Absolutely.
in Venezuela right here. So
do
she's
the
part
majority
of the problem.
of politicians. Yeah. What is your opinion on this issue? Because I know as a Latino, as someone, as an immigrant, I'm sure your opinion is intense.
And looking at that, and to be honest, I have families that lives in Mexico, and as a Latino that was born here, I find it very disgusting that the same politicians, and I don't care what party you are, and if you're part of that regime, and to those voters who voted them in, like Pelosi, you're disgusting. you should really, really be ashamed of yourself and do your homework very well, not being brainwashed. And that's what is that's the biggest problem with the Latinos right now. And you can probably call me wrong or right, but I'm gonna say it very loud right as it is. The Latinos has been very, very manipulated and brainwashed, and it's sad. And it's sad and disgusting that you believe all these propaganda, not just Trump. Look at the Obama, the Clintons, all those in the past. Why hasn't those people questioned it? That's the question. Yeah. Why now? Why now? And I've seen this before too, because I cross the border every time. And when I see this, but now they make it more as a big now as it is.
Yeah.
Because they use it because now that it's campaign season, now they want to use it so they can get in.
Yeah.
It's not about that. It's about real issues, and that's one of them too. And I'm speechless just watching this. Makes my stomach sick.
Yeah.
And
they're tokenizing. The Democratic Party is tokenizing the suffering of these people to get you to vote for their same corporatist puppet establishment candidates that are going to continue doing this time and time again. And that's why we cannot support someone that supports regime change war, because no matter how they say, oh, we're going to take care of the immigrants, they're not. They're going to turn their back like they've been doing on Latinos. And I urge the Latino community to stop being little pawns of this system that is only using us for votes, that is only using us to garner some sort of pseudo support so they can fill their pockets. We have to stop being those people. We have to continue to do our own research, to stop believing the propaganda, as Gabriel said, and vote people in who aren't going to go in and be the police of the world, manipulate other countries to put their own puppets in there, which is what we did in Honduras. And that's why all these people are now, who had a very, very nice life in Honduras. I mean, they had Medicare for all. They had higher wages. They were actually doing well under Manuel Zelaya. But look what happened. And this is what we wanted to do in Venezuela. This is what we want to do all over the world. This isn't something we're making up. I mean, this is the bigger picture here. And when Pasta says it's not just about the kids in cages, it's not that he doesn't care about the kids in cages. It's about how we stop that from happening ever again. And it's not going to change with a Democrat like Joe Biden. It's not going to change with someone like Kamala Harris. It's going to change with someone that takes on the military-industrial complex. Yeah. So.
And I think a lot of, just to end it and say, like, I know a lot of poor people too, you know, in the Latino community, the white community, black community, there's a lot of poor people who are